everybody. Welcome to our September Database Security Office Hours at asktom.oracle.com. Thanks for joining us. My name is Richard Evans. I'm a Database Security Product Manager, and I'm joined by Nazia, who's going to give our technical presentation today on Audit Vault and Database Firewall. Just so you guys know, this call is being recorded, and it will be available at asktom.oracle.com a few days after the session. There's a bit.ly link on here that hopefully makes it easier for you to get to the Ask Tom database security page, bit.ly/asktomdbsec. If you've not joined us before, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. So this is an avenue into Oracle database security development and product management. Each session is going to have announcements, a technical topic, and then questions and answers at the end, okay? So any question is fair game. Can't really help you with support requests on here, but you can reach out to me. I'll share my email with you. Go ahead and put those questions in the Q&A panel, and then we'll get to those at the end of the conversation. If there's questions you're not comfortable asking in a public forum, that's okay. We're not going to record this. You can always email me, and I'll share my email here in the chat, but richard.c.evans@oracle.com. If you have a question and you don't want to ask it publicly, reach out to me privately. Okay. Some brief announcements here. Patching. October is the release update for the quarterly patching. So right around or on October 18th, look for that latest patch set. And I harp on this every month. I know I do, but patching is so important, right? We need to stay up to the latest patch set as much as possible, because what happens is attackers look at those patches that get released from every major vendor and they go, that's the vulnerability I can exploit. And then you see an uptick, you see an increase in exploits of those vulnerabilities that have been recently patched. So it's really critical that you stay up to date on those patches. One of the things that's always challenging with patching is that you need to take an outage window sometimes, right? So take a look at Oracle Fleet Patching and Provisioning. So you can create gold images for your grid infrastructure, your Oracle home, and you can minimize the outage window that you've got there. A lot of times you can do it without taking downtime. Some patches do require downtime, but the idea behind that Oracle Fleet Patching and Provisioning is we can create that gold image and we can deploy that same image across 10,000 databases. We can patch that grid infrastructure, we can patch that Oracle home, and we can get into this kind of modern methodology of patching an Oracle database home, okay? Support notes for this session revolve around Audit Vault and Database Firewall. So we've got 4 notes here on My Oracle support that stay up to date on a regular basis. So the first one is best practices and a sizing calculator. So if you want to know how frequently or how you should size your Audit Vault deployment, take a look at that document on sizing calculator. Bundle patch references. There's a patch there too that can, a My Oracle support note that'll link you to those bundle patches as they come out. Frequently asked questions. Again, just kind of, hey, what happens here? What happens there? What if I do this? What if I do that? A nice little note for that. And then that final one, you know, the 168.1969.2 kind of tries to walk you through some troubleshooting here. So gives you an idea of, okay, is this an agent issue? Is this a database issue? What are we working on here for Audit Vault, right? So is it a database firewall issue or an agent issue? And then tries to point you to the right My Oracle support notes. Documentation as well, bookmark the documentation, stay up to date on that documentation. Nazia and the team, we all as product managers influence the documentation and we take your feedback and we try to apply it. Okay, so we've looked at this documentation every day for years. And so there are obvious things that we miss. I read a paragraph and I think, oh, that makes sense. Someone else reads a paragraph and is like, Rich, that's like 3 different thoughts in one. And that's old and we don't need that anymore. And I don't know why you would say that. So give us that feedback on the documentation. We're always trying to evolve and improve that document. I mentioned this a couple other times because I think it's really neat. There's a Live Labs Story of a Hack lab out there that Hakeem has put together, one of our colleagues. Gives you some insight into an attacker and then how to defend those attacks, right? So if the attacker is trying to exfiltrate data, how does a defender defend against that type of attack? So you can go out to the Live Labs website, developer.oracle.com/Live Labs, and we have 25 or so Oracle Database Security Live Labs that are available to you out there. So take a look at those. Everything from encryption, key management, data masking, Audit Vault and Database Firewall, Database Vault, Database Security Assessment Tool, lots of database security labs out there on Oracle Live Labs. We're also going to run that story of a hack at Oracle Cloud World. So please join us at Oracle Cloud World in Las Vegas, October 16th through 20th. We're going to have 6 hands-on database security labs. We're going to have 14 or so presentations by database security product management, product development, as well as customers. And then we're going to have an Oracle database security demo booth where you can come, ask questions, say hi, kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So kind of like an all-day version of hanging out with me on an Ask Tom session, except it'll be, Russ and Michael and Alan and, some of our other, our highly regarded product managers here. So take a look at that. Oracle Cloud World, Las Vegas, October 16th through 20th. All right, that's it for announcements. Let's get over to the main presentation here with Nazia. Okay, so thank you everyone again for joining this particular call. We're going to cover, like Rich mentioned, AVDF 20.8 new feature, release update 8 new feature, and followed by Audit Wall, Database Firewall, few use cases, deployment architecture use cases. So it's not like AVDF internal architecture that we're going to discuss. So we get a lot of questions that I have this particular scenario. How should I, there are different scenarios and how you should deploy AVDF around that. I'm Nazia Zaidi, people who don't know me, I'm product manager for Audit Vault and Database Firewall. You can contact me with any query or request or ER or any feedback on AVDF. Safe harbor statement, because we are a bit early on talking on release update 8. It's not, so release is just around the corner. It's not really generally available, but it's not too far. It's just right there. Okay, so agenda, we will, I'll cover a little bit on AVDF overview, because every time we have few folks which are new, maybe first time joining this particular session. So I just want to brief them that what exactly AVDF is, and followed by introducing what you should expect in RU8, and then reference architecture. And finally, we will summarize our discussion. So AVDF is a comprehensive database activity monitoring solution. It gives complete visibility on database activities, what exactly happening on your database. Best of both worlds, I would say that one is part of the audit collection, which is like a sure shot evidence of what exactly happened on your system. So from your audit logs. And the second is that in real time from the network activity monitoring, where you see real time from the network event that who is doing what on your database. With combination of both, like database auditing along with the network event monitoring is specific to database activities. AVDF is a comprehensive database activity monitoring solution. You can choose, you can have combination of the audit collection along with network monitoring, or you can choose either of them. It completely depends on your use cases, what exactly your use cases are, and what exactly you are trying to achieve out of this solution. So from the audit collection perspective, we are interested in certain type of information to give you a better visibility that what exactly happening on your system. Yeah, so first thing is that we are interested in privileged user activity. These privileged user could be a database administrator or application user who has a lot of access to data and a lot of data, and a lot of authority is exposed to them on your critical databases or on your critical objects. So what exactly they are doing, how they are doing, etc. So we are interested in privileged user. Then we look into security relevant events like account management or database management events, etc. And if somebody is using system privileges on those kind of activities, so we are interested in that. So anything related to security event, security relevant events
is what we are interested when we are doing audit collection. The third part is data itself, right? You have a lot of objects which hold sensitive data, like and how you are accessing that object, that particular sensitive data, whether you are coming through the application or you are directly connecting to the database. So whether you are how you should access that information, where you are accessing this data from, etc., on those sensitive information. So sensitive data access auditing is another part of it. And finally, we look into combination of all these three, and then we try to find out if there is a suspicious activity happening on your system. It could be a combination of your privileged user along with objects and some session level of information. For example, if you are really following a trusted path, if you are really trying to connect to the application the way you usually connect, or if there are too many login failures are happening, or too many login SQL error started happening on your system, that could be these could be a reason of brute force attack or SQL injection, a lot of data being selected from your system, you are accessing that system during unusual hours, etc. So such kind of activities are being audited. And audit collections, what collects these using AVDF audit collection capability, we collect all this information and give you a single truth of view from our Audit Vault and Database Firewall. These activities could be logs, and you can alert on those activities. Whereas in database firewall monitoring, where we are looking at more network events, so we are interested in very first information, which is your session information, right? What client IP, DB user, OS user, source program, etc. you are using to access that particular data, or when the SQL traffic is coming to the database. What are those session information or session context information is what we are looking for. Then followed by SQL statements itself, like who is running what kind of a SQL. You create a list of allowed SQL or a cluster of allowed SQL and now which are basically trusted by application. And if anything doesn't fall under this cluster, then you decide what action you would like to take. Once you can define SQL statement, or you can define database objects, for example, where you really mention the data and the operation top of that data. So you kind of monitor sensitive data access or any modification to that particular data, and further you can prevent that. And whatever the rules you define under these categories, like session context, SQL statement, and database objects, and if nothing falls under these category or nothing is true, then finally you go to the default rule, which is like a novelty rule, and it kicks in. So if there are SQLs which are not part of a allowed cluster, then it goes to the default rule and look for that what action is supposed to take. Or if it doesn't fall in the list of objects and the activities what you have defined are allowed to do on that particular database firewall, it goes and looks into default rule that what it's supposed to do. So through database firewall monitoring, your action could be, you can pass certain activity. For example, you say that I don't want to monitor because I know this is coming from the trusted source and I really do not want to engage AVDF in that, and I want to pass certain activities. So you can pass it, you can log it, or if you want alerts to be generated on certain kind of activity, like who is modifying my most sensitive objects or most sensitive data is what when you want to get alerted, but you don't want to block certain activity, but you want to get alerted. So you can generate real-time alerts, or finally you can block. So for example, you say that, okay, if user is not coming, so the trusted path to access so-and-so data is set of certain IP addresses, DB user, OS user, etc. And if users are not coming from these trusted paths, then you want to block those actions. So these are the 4 actions you can take from database firewall monitoring. So that gives an overview of what you should expect from AVDF. There is a lot to talk about it, but I just wanted to give a brief overview on that. Okay, so now I'm introducing AVDF Release Update 8. Release updates, I just want to brief here that release updates are mostly quarterly release update once the database release update comes out. So basically we pick that particular database release update and any other operating system vulnerabilities, etc. are there. So we update our inherent database and operating system along with whatever the bugs are found by internal user or by customers, etc. And there are feature enhancement or if we have any enhancement requests from customer, we include that. So mostly it is quarterly release, but RU8, we did not release. So RU7 was in March, and now we are coming with RU8. So we purposely delayed RU8 because we wanted to focus on the quality of the solution. So I'll talk about like what was our RU8 focus and what are the features you should expect. So it's like a sneak preview for you. And so we are just putting a final blocks together. And I would say that it just a matter of few days that RU8 will be generally available. For RU8, our major focus was customer satisfaction. It's not that it's not always, it is always like our customer satisfaction is one of the focus, but yeah, a lot of other things also comes in picture. But RU8 is particularly, we thought that how our customer look at the product and how they use that product, etc. So we fixed as part of that effort, like improving the quality of the solution, producing you even more stable solution. We focused a lot on fixing a lot of bugs, whether those are found by customers or internal, and definitely those are regular CV or security related bugs. So our focus, a lot of SEV1 kind of bugs we fixed in this particular release. So we feel that this is the most stable release update since we have released AVDF 20, which was September 2020. So after, I would say that this, because we have fixed many bugs here. The other focus for this particular release update was usability improvements. So we had a lot of UI sessions internally, okay? And different users who are not owner of that component, they reviewed those pages and reacted like, okay, what our customer expects. Sometimes we felt that there could be, so from the usability improvement perspective, there are some major changes and there are some as minor as just changing the label name with more contextual meaning or adding a hint so that you know what exactly we are expecting you to enter there, giving you a more contextual flow, more logical flow, so that, okay, step by step, this is what exactly I'm supposed to do. So a lot of focus on that. It's a journey, I would say that we had been working on it from quite some time, and RU8 specifically, we put a lot of focus on that area. It is continuing effort, I would say that, but it's still, we did a lot in RU8. The third part, our focus was documentation improvement. document. So you will find, like Rich mentioned, that we keep on reading those documents, and people who owns that, they write and they feel that, okay, that's the best way I can write. So what we have done, that we started cross-domain reviews. So for example, somebody else who doesn't own that particular domain is going through that documentation. So giving a fresh perspective to that chapter. And we feel that if our documents are simple, are really clearly communicating what they're supposed to for the actions that chapter is written, we have less and less SRs generated, because a lot of time customer asks simple things which are documented, and they could just go through and understand how we can do it. So we are doing a lot of, so you'll find a lot of chapters which are revamped, and we are still working it, because we have like 5 guides of different, like admin, auditor, installation, etc. So we are working each chapter. It's again, this is also a continuing effort, but yeah, we did a lot of changes on the documentation improvement as well. And I really hope you recognize that, and you will feel, and it will add value when you are going through. A sneak preview of RU8. Apart that, our focus on quality and stabilizing, providing more stable solution, doing a usability improvement and documentation improvement, which are more, I would say that are more part of like operation, and then, but still we did introduce a lot of new features that our customers, some of them are enhancement requests by our customer, and some of them are that we wanted to do. So one is that we are introducing read-only auditor with the release update 8. So that you have like super auditor, which can go write policies, etc. Whereas read-only auditor will have access to the targets assigned to that particular auditor to audit those targets, and have access to only reports and alerts. So it cannot, this particular read-only auditor will not go and change anything on AVDF perspective, but it has more visibility on the targets that that particular auditor is supposed to audit. So I'll show you some snapshots around that. And then we revamped our database firewall policy page. We extended activity monitoring for TLS encrypted traffic. We did that in RU7 for Oracle databases. We extended it in this version in RU8 for RAC type of a deployment. We were doing audit collection for autonomous databases, but we could not do it for through database firewall, because autonomous databases also supports TLS. So when we started supporting TLS encrypted traffic monitoring through database firewall, we extended support to autonomous databases as well. A lot of, like I said, hints and labels updated or included. We expanded support for newer version of, let's say, Postgres, MongoDB, and VMware, etc. So read-only auditor should look like this to you. Auditor can go and create a read-only auditor with auditor type, read-only auditor, and you can go and for that particular read-only auditor that you have created, you can assign group of targets or a single target to that auditor, or number of targets, or if you have created group of targets, you can assign group of targets to that particular auditor. And then you will see that when this read-only auditor logs in to AVDF, they will have homepage where they will have graphs and dashboard related to targets they are responsible for, and they can view details of those targets, like whether these are Oracle or database, DB2 or SQL Server, whatever type of targets, and other target details. So they can just view it. They cannot go and change anything there. You will see usually Super Auditor has another tab here, which is policy. So read-only auditor doesn't have visibility of policies. Then read-only auditor can view alerts and take action on alerts coming for those specific targets that they are responsible for. And they can take action on those alerts, like if they want to close it, or they want to remain open, or assign to somebody, etc. So they can take action on those alerts that targets they are responsible for, and they have visibility of different reports for the targets they are responsible for. Now, read-only auditor will have all these privileges, and they can view data. They can take action on the alerts, etc., and save reports, etc., and for the targets they are responsible for. So that's like read-only auditor, and we really hope that you will start using it, because I have seen a lot of customer has such scenarios. There are auditors where they just want to give auditor to access to look at the data, but not do any policy management and other administrative tasks, etc. So next is database firewall policy landing page. We have changed landing page. So if you remember, our landing page had horizontal tabs were like horizontal view, like user-defined database firewall policy and predefined database firewall policy. We change it to vertically, so that in one go user has visibility of all the policies, whether these are user-defined or these are predefined by Oracle. When you look at these this table, we have changed some things on these table also. So a policy can be deployed on multiple targets. So for example, if I check that particular policy and I say deploy, and I will have pop up that where do you want to deploy these policies? And this policy is set for Oracle database type of databases. And I will have list of targets which are registered here. And I can select and I can go and deploy, that database firewall policy on those targets. So I have an option that where I want to deploy those policies. Second thing, if you want to review that whether this one particular policy is deployed on what all targets, you will see we will list down a few names here, and then we'll start with ... You can click, you can see the entire list, or if you want, we are giving you search window here. So you can search if you are looking for one particular target, that whether this particular policy is deployed on that particular target or not. So we are giving you more. Our focus is that reduce number of clicks and give you a better view of your policies in one go, and give you more flexibility to find out something if you really want to say it. So that was landing page. And then if you come to the database firewall policy page, the first change what we made that if you go to the policy page, your rules were listed horizontally, which means that this policy has what all rule until you click on that particular rule tabs like session context or SQL statement or database object. You will not come to know that whether there is a rule defined, which rule is defined for this particular policy. So we changed that perspective. We now the rules are actually, rule tabs are vertical. If there are rules in that particular rule type, it is auto expanded for you, otherwise rest are collapsed. So you know that, okay, these are the rules defined for this particular policy. Okay, we try to grab your attention on the actions by doing some level of color coding also. So when you're defining, we tell you, okay, this rule you have done action as an alert, the other one you have done action as an block, etc. So in one go, you have a view of your entire policy, that what rules are defined and what actions are defined. And if you really want to see further or modify those rules, etc., so you can click on that particular rule name and then go and do further action on that. Another change what we have done on the rule type database objects, one is that when you were defining your object's name, we had and or kind of radio button for you. So we got rid of that, which has like any table or all table. So because that was creating a lot of confusion when users were defining their database firewall policy, we got rid of them. And by default, we are looking for all the tables unless you are defining table names here. And if you click on this particular pen, then new pop-up will come up. You can enter the values, or you can upload object names from the file and then select whatever the object you want, or we will populate object names from the collected data as well. And then you select your object names from the collected data, or you enter value, or you get it from the file and you add it here in your, tables of views to be monitored. So we have added hint also here to make it very simple for you, so that you really don't need to go documentation. Okay, and when you're defining database firewall monitoring points, we are taking some additional information from you. Earlier, we were asking only if it is REC instance. Now we are asking whether it is autonomous database or as well, because we have extended support for autonomous database, and we know autonomous database is database use TLS encryption for network based monitoring. So we know that data is flowing over the network is basically TLS encrypted, and we do decryption and messaging of data in backend accordingly. So like I said, we a lot of hints and labels are updated. So like it could be as simple as that. Like for example, in here we had like PDF or XLS report, right? Which are nothing but basically report templates. So we change the label name to report templates, which is which is more contextually meaningful, I would say that. So we did these little changes. We added help. So the pages usually have those question marks, right? So when you are defining something like this. So we saw a lot of hints. Help page are let's say not really providing exact to the point information, or they're giving you more information, or they are giving you less information. So we have reviewed those help pages. We have updated those help pages. We have added a lot of hints. You will find that in reports, column ordering are consistent. We try to make it consistent as much as possible. We reviewed a lot of reports again and again and try to look at what minimum information you need on one page. Okay, so accordingly we try to select the columns in first go, and then you can add more columns if you want to your reports, etc. So we did all these small changes as well, and we felt that it will make your life much easier. So and it touch your experience some or other way when you are using AVDF. So that was a sneak preview of release update 8. Now I will move to my next topic, that's reference architecture. So AVDF has majority of 3 components. That's Audit Vault Server, Audit Vault Agent, and database firewall. I will go through reference architecture one by one. So Audit Vault Server provides you 2 deployment models. One is that you can have Audit Vault Server as a single instance, or you can have an Audit Vault Server as a paired instance. When you are having a single instance, then obviously there is no high availability for you. If Audit Vault Server goes down, it goes down. Your AVDF setup kind of not working. And database firewall, if you have enable database firewall, it will hold network activity for a certain time and check if primary is coming up or not. If it comes up, it flush all that data to primary. If it doesn't, it holds for a certain time, and then it start cleaning that data. So if you do not have standby system, then there is no HA. You can have your paired Audit Vault server standby also. In this case, what happens that all the users, all the connections go to the primary, but if primary is not available for a certain time, then it automatically fails over to the standby system. So this primary and standby system internally uses Oracle Data Guard physical standby, which is deployed in maximum protection mode. So it automatically fails over all the configuration, everything you do on the primary Audit Vault server and push to automatically to a standby audit servers. So that's the level of high availability right now we provide with Audit Vault server. Now, the next component, which is your Audit Vault agent. So Audit Vault agent can be deployed in two ways. One is that you can deploy agent locally on the host machine. And the second way is that you can deploy agent on the remote host machine. But there are certain conditions or certain scenarios where you cannot deploy agent or remote host machine, and it has to be on the local host machine. Okay, so one is if you are using host monitor agent for database firewall, which is like nothing but a network data capture, then you need to have agent locally installed. Or if you are using auditing based on the audit files or a directory audit collection, not the table based audit collection, so then you need to have agents locally deployed. So I will take a couple of examples or couple of use cases. So for example, if you want to install Audit Vault agent, you want to deploy Audit Vault agent in case of Active Data Guard, right? So in case of Active Data Guard, let's say you have a primary database and you have a standby database, one or many. And this is example of the unified auditing where audited data resides inside the audited table. Okay, it's not a directory collection, but it resides inside the table. What happens is here in this scenario, you can install agent on your remote host machine, and your remote host machine basically, and then from remote host machine, agent can talk to multiple standbys. Okay, so in case of Active Data Guard, you have single one unified audit trail, and then you have multiple spillover audit trails. So you register all those audit trails against a single Audit Vault agent. So you do not need to install agent on each of the farm of Oracle Active Data Guard node, and you do not need to register each trail. So there is one single unified trail, but yeah, there are spillover files which we need to collect so that there is no duplication of data, and only that delta data is there, audited data is there in the system. So we register those unified trail. So agent, we use this connection string to connect to the target, and agent is installed on the remote host machine, and that's what recommended. Now, in case of agent deployed in real application cluster, so with the unified auditing, again, we say that you should install agent on the remote host machine. That's ideal. And one agent talks to audit, and then you register audit trail corresponding to this one single agent. Okay, on the target setup site, you do not need to register each and every node of RAC cluster. You just need to go and register your target basis on your scan port. And trails, I have already mentioned that you configure one table trail for the target, and that one single that table trail correspond to one agent. Whereas if you are using audit collection kind of or a network trail kind of a setup, which is not part of the unified, so you basically need to install agent on each RAC node, and then you need to select agent to set up a trail for respective agent, respective nodes. So So that's in the condition of directory collection, or if you are using host monitor. But in case of table, audit data is saved in audit table, you can just have it on the remote host machine, and you can define as a single target, single trail, and the single agent. On the database firewall deployment model, first we need to understand what are the database firewall models. Deployment models are available on, depending on your deployment model, your high availability architecture will be. So there are 3 deployment models. You can deploy database firewall in a proxy mode, or host monitor, or out of band. So in proxy mode, you can do monitoring and blocking both, whereas in host monitor and out of band, you can just do monitoring, you can't do blocking. Proxy and out of band, we know that it's agent-less configuration, whereas host monitor is agent-based configuration. Now, depending on what deployment model you have choose, your high availability model will be. So if you are using, so there are 2 ways. If you are using database firewall in out of band or host monitor, then you have an option of having a resilient pair of database firewall. Okay, but if you are using database firewall in proxy mode, then you have an option of having a multiple database firewalls. Now, so it depends what you have. In case of host monitor and out of band, traffic is captured or mirrored. So in case of host monitor, it is just captured, and in case of out of band, it is mirrored from one port to another, right? So in case of host monitor or out of band, traffic is captured or mirrored and forwarded to both the database firewall, okay, in that resilient pair. But at a time, user is actively connecting to the one database firewall, and that database firewall connects to the audit vault server. And when this particular database firewall is not available for a certain time, then user connections falls back to the database firewall too. And it's anyways, collecting data and being forwarded to database firewall too. It's just that it makes that connection up for the users, and then database firewall to continue to connect to the audit vault server. All these settings are being done from audit vault server, and you define primary, standby, etc. And these settings are pushed to those database firewall. Now, in case of proxy mode, you have 2 options, whether you can have active passive or you can have active active. For active passive, especially for Oracle databases, so we leverage attributes in tnsnames.ora, and there you define 2 database firewall IP addresses. Okay, so it's kind of an active passive. One database firewall is up at one time, and if user is not available to connect to first database firewall, then the second instance comes up in picture. Okay, so in your address list, you define 2 IP addresses of database firewall 1 and database firewall 2. That's an active passive kind of a configuration. Now for proxy mode in active active, again for active active, you have 2 options. One is that for Oracle database, you can do through client configuration. You can leverage tnsnames.ora, whereas for non-Oracle databases, and if you want to have, you have deployed a proxy mode, Oracle and non-Oracle both, and if you have deployed in proxy mode and you want active-active kind of a configuration for database firewall, then we say that you use DNS resolver. In case of client configuration, but we do that, in tnsnames.ora, you define your primary database firewall and secondary database firewall, but also along with that, you do load balance on. Okay, so client connects to the database firewall instances randomly, and so it acts like a load balance between 2 database firewalls. Whereas in In DNS configuration, we basically resolves using DNS name, not with IP address. So database firewall 1 and 2 have a single domain name, and we use DNS resolver to resolve that domain name. So all the database firewall will be active in this particular configuration and resolved by single domain name. And DNS resolver use and then connects to any of the database firewall which is available in the round robin mode. Okay. This kind of a setup you can use for Oracle and non-Oracle. Okay, so that takes me to the final slide of my presentation. As a next step, I would say that I keep on writing AVDF blogs, so please watch for AVDF blog, and soon you will have a product announcement of release update 8. So I use that platform to give you product announcement, release updates, and some of the technical topics that we want to discuss. So you can follow here when Rich will share this presentation with you. Other thing what we do is that I run quarterly series of AVDF called AVDF Cafe. This quarterly series has 3 sessions per quarter in 3 different time zones. So it depends, depending on which time zone is comfortable for you, whether APAC, EMEA, or North America, you can attend any of one session in that quarter. So, and you can subscribe to that channel the way you have subscribed to this particular channel. And in this presentation, I will include those 3 links, and you can go and subscribe as per your time zone convenience. Once RU8 is available, you should go and upgrade your system to RU8 to use all these new features that I have discussed with you and have a better quality solution and more stable solution. And finally, if you haven't tried AVDF yet, you're someone who are still evaluating, please go and try yourself AVDF on Live Labs. Our colleague has done an awesome job, and you will have all high-level use cases or important use cases covered in this particular Live Labs. So thank you so much for attending today's session.
Thanks for joining us. Next month's session will be database Vault, kind of a similar thing that Nazia is doing here, where we're going to talk about deployment strategies, best practices, things like that on Oracle Database Vault. It's going to be on Wednesday, October 12th.